Featherweights mixing it up in the UFC's Apex. Coming up this weekend, former Contender Series fight loser, yet a guy who's looking to string together 2 wins in a row in the UFC. We have the former Jungle Fights lightweight champ Lucas Almeida taking on the former 2-time CFFC champ, a guy who's looking to get back on a win streak. It is Pat Sabatini out of that big-time gym in the Philly area. He's a Daniel Gracie guy, is Pat Sabatini, and both of these guys, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, but you wouldn't guess it if you watch Lucas Almeida fight, because this guy throws everything into his hooks, and he lays it all out on the line in his matchups. And for Sabatini, he was on a giant roll. He got to the fringes of the elite in the featherweight division, and he took on Action Jackson, Damon Jackson. At that time, in that matchup, Sabatini favored to get the win. In it, he got cracked.
He did.
And just like he did when he fought Jamal Emmers, he couldn't grapple his way out of it.
And that's the thing about Pat Sabatini. Some fighters get hurt, some fighters get dropped. Sabatini, at least early on, could recover, right? He'd get dropped by a big shot, recover, panic takedown, and then once he initiated the grappling, well, we all know how talented of a fighter he is on the mat. He's a very heavy fighter on top, has good ground and pound. We know how good the submissions are as well. So he would be able to work out of a lot of those bad positions. But as his career has progressed, and he is 32, it's not like he's an old fighter, but again, the miles are starting to add up. He hasn't been able to recover all that well after getting hit by the big shot, and that is a little bit concerning when you're fighting a guy like Almeida.
You gotta back it up, because people are gonna say, Matt, like, we haven't seen him get knocked out in a lot of these fights. And that's true. Like,
We'll see him get dropped enough times, though.
Okay, show us the fights, because the CFFC fight that's considered a TKO loss, he dislocates his elbow.
Well, no, the Emmers fight, though, is a concerning fight.
The fight against Emmers, he gets dropped. The fight against Damon Jackson, he gets dropped. Those are some examples, but he has shown resolve, albeit, again, one due to injury and one a terrible knockout loss his last time out. Now, for Sabatini, I sat here and I wondered, why haven't we seen him since the Damon Jackson fight? So I went out and I sought out some interviews. And I found a new interviewer. So he did one on June 7th with Dan. So in that one, for the first time, I thought that just every morning Pat Sabatini wakes up, somebody pisses in his Cheerios, and that's why he looks mad all the time. But I actually saw Dan, he made Pat smile. So Pat Sabatini, he has a real smile. And in it, he actually said something that I didn't know. That sounds pretentious, but if you look at Sabatini's Tapology page, Sherdog, records, wherever it is, it doesn't show him in any matchups after the Damon Jackson fight. Pat said he was matched up June 10th at UFC 289 to fight Atlanta Canadian Gavin Tucker again. And Tucker pulled out of that fight. So, it was announced by Marcel Dorf on May 19th that Sabatini would be stepping up in place of Hakeem Dawodu to take on Lucas Almeida. Flip of the coin, Lucas Almeida, after that fight that he had against Mike Trezano, where he just absolutely floors and rallies back against the former Ultimate Fighter winner Trezano, he was booked to take on Takugov. Takugov couldn't make the weight. Andre Fili, that fight fell out, and then Hakeem Dawodu. It's awesome to see Almeida back in a matchup. And when you look at this fight, where Almeida does have the grappling pedigree, and he trains out of a good gym, one that you don't hear about in Equipe Rivera Black Team down in Brazil, teammate of recent LFA champ Rodolfo Bellado, who you saw in Contender Series get floored. If you do look at it for Almeida, all of those successes on the regional scene at lightweight, drops down to featherweight, looks really good against Trezano, even though the chin got checked in the first round. He drops Trezano round 2, drops him round 3. Almeida's one of those guys that, going back and watching his fights on the regional scene, he struggled with the takedown defense. His fight against Nico Cocuccio, in that one, he floors Cocuccio to the point where, Cocuccio's got to, butt scoot and get his way back up to the feet after he gets dropped multiple times in the first round. But he rallies back, does his opponent, takes down Almeida, wears on him, and then by the end of it, Almeida gets the finish. I love the resolve that I seen out of Almeida, even in the fight that he had against Zellhuber, which is a fight in the night on Contender Series. It's tricky for both of these guys to see a win. I have a hard time. The tape study didn't make it any easier.
This is what I like in it too. Think about the NBA Finals right now, right? Nikola Jokic, a big conversation point right now. If you're the Nuggets, this is what you have to do, right? He's the best player in the world. That's what a lot of people believe. You win every minute he's on the court, right? So he has to rest. What do you do in the minutes he's off the court, right? Can you just not bleed a lot of points? I look at both these guys' game plans as being very similar. Can you just not lose all the moments in your opponent's wheelhouse? Because Almeida can have this fight and understand, okay, I can get taken down as long as I don't get finished. Because he is coming off a fight, and I don't think Trezano is a perfect game plan to just recycle and recreate for Sabatini, but it's a decent one to go with, right? For the bare bones. What does Mike Trezano do? He's got good boxing on the outside. I would say he's more of a boxer than Sabatini. Sabatini much more of a grappler, but he's going to box, he's going to wrestle, he's going to be that well-rounded fighter.
He's going to leave the UFC on a knockout win over Sungwoo Choi.
Exactly. So maybe Sabatini fights Choi next, but you know what I mean. Almeida can have those similar areas of success in this matchup. I just worry that is Sabatini's chin too far gone? If he gets hit by that one big shot by Almeida and tries to panic for the takedown, is he going to get it? Because if he does fight like he did against Jamal Emmers, then okay, he can get hit by that big shot, get the top position, and still have success. But if he gets hit by the shot, and that's just kind of it for him, I could see Almeida coming in and just getting the biggest win of his career.
And if you do consider it, I mean, Sabatini, the grappling lineage, the BJJ black belt, Marquez MMA, Daniel Gracie, that gym was on fire, and now all of a sudden some of the guys have been losing, Sean Brady, Pat Sabatini as well. But if you look at it for Sabatini, D1 wrestling chops at one Rider University, a much younger Patrick Sabatini in the wrestling days, putting on the shoes, getting it done. You have a look at it. Sabatini had aspirations of the top 15, a little bit stifled his last time out. Favored to get the win over to Almeida, but Matt, you can never count out Almeida. Yeah. I think the fans, listen, Fight Night Picks fans are Sabatini fans, so I'm going to say over under 80% Sabatini.
I think it'll be under.
I don't want to get pulled into the trap. It is under, 541 total votes, 68% Sabatini, 82% have him to win by decision for the 32% that have Almeida, 71% by knockout. And that's a sexy pick, Almeida by knockout, because Trezano's got an all-right chin, and Almeida dropped him twice in that matchup. Sabatini's been tested in his last number of fights. Now, for Sabatini in these matchups, like, you consider it, 85% of almost 4,000 votes had Sabatini to beat Jackson. And if you look at the matchups that Sabatini's had so far in the UFC, we're talking about takedown after takedown after takedown. He was able to get it done against Canadian TJ Laramie and put up 6 on the board in that one. He had 5 against Tucker Lutz, and in his matchup against Jamal Emmers, the heel hook win. And in his fight against Tristan Connolly, in tight, lands that shot, drops Connolly in the first round, and he's able to ground him out as that one went on. I think there's more of a story about dropping from 170 to 145 and neck injuries for Tristan Connolly, but it is what it is. Matt, I picked Pat Sabatini to win this fight, but people bitch every week about this. Oh, I see it being a close fight. I have a hard time being really confident with it because of what I've seen out of Sabatini, and Lucas Almeida is not going to go down without trying to land those big hooks, and they come from odd angles. He could very well finish Sabatini.
He very well could, but I do agree with you on the pick. I think Sabatini's going to make use of the takedown when he is able to accomplish it. Could Almeida hurt him on the feet? Yes, of course he could. At any moment throughout this fight, he has shown the ability to carry his power very late in fights, but he has been taken down multiple times in a lot of his fights, and that's the problem. I brought this up a lot when Amir Albazi fought Kai Kara-France. I know I got the pick right, even though the decision was a little chintzy, but the reason I gave that prediction was Amir Albazi's really good at controlling his opponents, right? And Kai Kara-France, for as good as he is at getting back up to his feet, he does give up that initial takedown, and I do look at this fight as being slightly similar to that. Almeida can make use of the time on the feet. I just think he's going to get held down once he is taken down.
Almeida's had 3 different fights fall out. He's kind of in his Nick the Tooth phase, looking for a fight. Just wants to get it back. Matt, Lucas Almeida is not the guy we have. Both of us going with Pat Sabatini to get the win. Some big-time matchups on this fight card, including Armen Petrosyan taking on Cristian Leroy Duncan next. Old CLD, you're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.